So we'll run through some factors that will actually affect this gyropsychological well-being. Okay, the first one definitely physical health and mental well-being. As the body ages, okay, all the health issues will come through. So there's this longitudinal aging study in Singapore. Before that, seniors with chronic illnesses, they are actually more prone to depression. So there is a factor there. And because you can't do much when you are physically declining, you tend to have a increased sense of helplessness, right? And you also need to be dependent on your caregiver. Of course, with a strong family, right, research has shown that this family bond would reduce the risk of depression. But earlier we mentioned our family unit is getting smaller. So the seniors actually don't have children even, right? We have actually a lot of cases in the community where the senior is estranged from their children and they become more socially isolated. So then the social support is not there anymore. And that's where the supportive programs like the SGO, Silver Generation Office, will come into place, right? When volunteers go door knocking and become friends of the seniors who are living alone. Financial stress, right? Financial insecurity, I think it doesn't really only affect the seniors. It also affects everyone else, right? But this particularly so for seniors of the particular age group now. You contribute to stress, you contribute to their worthlessness, and then the big word, depression. And last but not least, technology, right? Digital literacy. So as you go around in the community right now, you will see a lot of the Go Digital campaigns. You have volunteers who will help seniors learn how to use handphone, how to surf Facebook, and then how to do TikTok videos. Okay, all this will help them to use digital tools, which is actually quite alarming because the MDA survey shows that only 58% of seniors are confident using technology. Obviously, in 40 years' time, your group here will be very advanced as our technology advances. But at this point of time, the group of seniors that we are facing, the boomer generation, they came from an era where there were no computers. There was no handphone, nothing, zero. When the sun set, that's it. They don't get to travel, they don't get to do any other entertainments. Some may not even have watched the TV until much later in life. Yeah. So I think as the society advances, all these factors that we mentioned would have changed. So bear that in mind as you consider the future of your gerontology career as well. Well, so much for all the theories and the bleak look. So now we'll take the next few minutes to look at some real-life case studies. So this is a particular one with dementia. Right, we have this Mr. T, who actually experienced cognitive decline. Okay, and because of that, there was a lot of frustration because he wasn't able to take care of himself physically and mentally as well. And that gives rise to a lot of caregiver stress, particularly for his wife, who is the main caregiver. Right, there's a lot of burnout, and she simply did not know how to take care of him anymore. So that's when we worked with the agencies, various agencies that came together, right? And we finally put Mr. T into a dementia care facility, right, where he is then well taken care of by a team of healthcare personnel. And inside the facility, there was also counseling as well. So that helps Mr. T with his communication, And that's helped the family, his wife, his children to understand also why her husband, their father, is like that right now. And that improves the situation. Earlier I mentioned the social isolation, which is very, very real. We work a lot with seniors who are staying in rental flats. And typically in a rental flat in Singapore, if you are a single person, HDB would actually pair you up with a partner, right? What is the purpose of that? That's to make sure that there's someone who is watching over the other person. Because we have instances where we face seniors who are staying alone and they pass on without anyone else knowing until it's too late. When you smell and when the police have to be called in, the SFDF have to come in to break down the door, and to retrieve the body. So that is happening in Singapore. So that's the real life situation. So in this particular case, Madam L, right, she actually stayed in a rental flat with her husband. Unfortunately, the husband passed on, and she get to live on her own, but she feels so helpless and isolated because previously, when her husband were around, they were able to go out together. So she's very dependent on her husband. But the moment her husband passed on, she's left on her own. She got lost because all of a sudden her main partner, friend is no longer there. And she doesn't know how to voice out her concerns, and she doesn't want to face all the people around who keep on asking her questions. And so she stopped herself from joining all the social activities. So what we did was we connected her with the volunteers from SGO, right, the Silver Ambassadors, and then we started befriending her. We visited her on a more regular basis, and slowly she opened up, right, and she was able to then walk out of this low period of her life. Right now she's happily attending activities at active aging centers, and we hope to continue to engage Madam L and many others like her. This last case study is about Mr. K, who actually had a architrist situation. So he became very dependent on his children. But because of that, he felt like he's a burden, right? And he developed this anxiety disorder. So when we found out the situation, what we did was we counseled the family, and we actually brought Mr. K to a daycare center. Okay, so in the context of a daycare center, if you were to look at it like a childcare center, so instead of putting your child, right, in a childcare center, you actually bring your senior parents who need help or who need companionship during the day in a daycare center. And this daycare center actually provides limited healthcare assistance as well. So in this case, this particular daycare center was able to provide some therapy work and a lot of physiotherapy as well to help Mr. K with both his physical condition as well as his mental capacity. And also at the same time, he expanded the social circle, because he got to meet friends during that few hours when he was at the daycare center. So that, in a sense, brought him out of social isolation as well. He doesn't need to face the four walls in his own home, right? He got to go out, he got to visit a daycare center, he got to make new friends. So as all these case studies have shown us, there's actually quite an established support system in Singapore right now. We have the government programs, the Action Plan for Successful Aging. You can Google and start reading up on that, right? There are also various community services like the CNS, the Community Networks for Seniors, the many active aging centers. Okay, just now we talked about ageism. So this is a part where there is an ageism there, because in order to be a member of an AAC, you need to be 60 years old and above, right? Previously, it was known as Senior Activity Center. Then the government has a change in the elder care model, and then we renamed these centers to Active Aging Centers. But in doing all this, as you can perceive, there is a sense of ageism there, because all these activity centers are meant for seniors 60 years old and above. So chronological age become a very important factor. Because in the context of Singapore, there's also the residence network, right? The CCs, the RCs that we're very familiar with, that organizes activities for all citizens. So how do we straddle these two centers and make them work together? That's something for you to think about as well. So we have the Silver Generation Office. They have silver ambassadors who will frequently have go door knocking and befriend the seniors who are staying alone or with their spouse, and to introduce them to various activities that we have in Singapore. But having said that, we talk about mental health. I think there is still a significant gaps in addressing mental health when it comes to the senior-related policies in Singapore. So that is something that we need to look into, how we can use technology, whether it's telehealth, okay, or whether there is geriatric training for professionals to come in and help this group of seniors. So that is something that we can look forward to. I guess moving on, as we progress in your lecture here, in the course here, you'll get to know and learn about all these different directions in terms of the gerontology sector.